to feel included, to feel heard. And there's a lot, like for me personally, I gain a lot from this kind of, and now and seeing it developing, you've got kind of reading groups, you've got kind of other support groups under that umbrella, which is really kind of beneficial for everyone. And so everyone's got something, and there's also kind of, I guess it's open to suggestions. Say, like, if I wanted to suggest, okay, can we possibly have a meeting for this, or maybe a training for that? You know, everyone's kind of helpful, and we're all striving to kind of better ourselves and make everyone feel included. And I feel that is why it's so needed and it's really important. I don't think there's an organization that's been like this, where it's kind of, we're all on the same level, and we're all just there to support each other.
That's one of the things that really stuck for me on why RTN is needed. I don't think I've come across another organization in the therapy world that is truly participative and truly inclusive, in a way that there's never a but put on, you know, things when people need things or ask for things, and everyone's ideas are welcome, everyone's needs are welcome. Yeah, I think as therapists, we strive to help people feel important and included and confident. And to have that for ourselves is really important, to help us do that for others as well. And another thing for me that is really important and needed is the commitment aspect of it. The fact that we're all in this together and we're all putting time and effort, and we're committed to try and be better people overall thanks to this.
There's something I find that's really about nurturing me as a person that then enables me to give out in my role as a therapist. And I think I was at a point in my practice, and in many ways still am, where I feel a strong pull towards working anti-oppressively, intersectionally, but often feeling like I am floundering and keeping my head above water with issues which feel so deeply rooted, and where I'm trying my best to hold in mind so many different things, and feeling, as many other people have said, that I wasn't finding another place where that was being held, in the therapy world or outside. There were lots of conversations happening which were starting that process and sparking that process. But this space really feels like somewhere where it is so carefully, compassionately held and thought about, and that benefits me as a human being, and that makes me feel like it then charges my batteries as a therapist to be able to go out and do the work that I do, and hopefully enable my clients to have a voice in their own way, whatever that means for them.
I think the reason that RTN needs to exist is because how can I say this? I guess none of us get it right all the time, and it's really helpful to have a space where you can feel safe to try on things that we sometimes only know in theory. And intersectionality is so complicated to actualize sometimes, and seeing how simply it can be brought into reality empowers us as therapists to bring that then into our professional lives. And I think it's a wonderful recharge. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for me, like I said, living in Ireland, being educated in a kind of a traditional way, to kind of pop over here into RTN and get a breath of fresh air of like, it reminds me that once I'm qualified and practicing on my own, I will be able to do the things that I want to be able to do, even if I'm not seeing them modeled currently by anyone around me. So that's hugely beneficial for me personally, but also the learning. And as a highly sensitive person, being able to express my needs in a safe space and be received, it's really liberating. It's really, really quite empowering. And I think as therapists, we often forget about our own needs. Or maybe I'm just speaking for myself, I suppose. I tend to forget about my own needs in service of others. And it's really nice to have a space where we can come together and model the world that we want to see in some way.
One of the reasons I wanted RTN to come into fruition was a space to hold therapists to account in a compassionate way, in a way that won't move people into a shame response, so that we can work together and to develop our practice in ways that are ethical. And part of that is creating learning spaces and creating spaces to process and feel together. What I perhaps didn't expect was how much the space has become needed for us as individual therapists to look after one another. And I think that has really, really become quite live and present in RTN, of how we work interdependently, collectively, in a way that really supports working sustainably, which completely goes against capitalist approaches, where as therapists we're working in systems that are burning out and really lacking in resources and funding. And how do we as therapists resource ourselves to be able to create sustainable and healing work and support ourselves and support each other as a community, but also support our clients who exist in community? What I've been really touched by over and over and over again is me sending out emails to say, sorry folks, I'm not well at the moment, so you're not going to hear much from me, or there's going to be a delay. And people offering back so much kindness and gentleness of, well, is there anything I can do to step in to support? And, you know, please take your time, heal yourself, get better. And that always takes priority. And I think I've been touched and humbled so many times by how people really do step up to the plate to do the work. And that's often not role modeled in society. So I think RTN is what it is because of every single individual that brings themselves to that space. And I think it's one of the most special places I've worked in, where people really want to show up to fuck up and to do well and to get better. And some of the feedback from RTN events that have stuck with me have been feedback, especially from white folks and white middle class folks, who said, you really role modeled a way of holding me to account that shows me how it can be done. And I take that so seriously, of how can we role model ways of working that can be healing as well as knowledgeable, knowledge sharing and information sharing. That work kind of goes hand in hand together. So I'm looking forward to sharing space more with therapists who want to continue doing this work together.
But I think the RTN is really needed because it's so important to hold space. And this is such an open and welcoming environment. And it's a very challenging environment to be in as well, in a positive sense. It challenges us. it's a very warm and supportive environment. There's no sense of shaming or blaming or feeling, you know, guilt, but it gives you that space to really look into yourself and think, you know, is there a way that I can do this better, and to challenge yourself and to get past that fear. So yeah, really I would say it's the most kind of diverse space that I've been in. It's the first space I've really felt welcomed into. I feel quite emotional saying that. As a deaf therapist, so there are so few of us. And I don't know if how aware people are of just how few, but also I know that there are very few Black therapists, and, you know, we need Black deaf therapists. There's a massive lack and of professionals who represent that community, and just deaf therapists of colour in general are really underrepresented in the profession. So I think hearing therapists know all about these different groups and networking opportunities, but when it comes to, you know, deaf therapists, you know, you're kind of searching desperately for your space and not finding it anywhere, and access is just always the number one issue. So, you know, if you want to be involved in the group, then you have to ask who's going to pay for the interpreter. So if you're there with an interpreter, they're only there for the business part. So if there's a social, for example, you know, you go to the pub after an event with everybody, but the interpreter has finished their work by that point, so there's no access to the social side of it. So are you really part of that network if that's the case? And I would argue no. So here it just feels lovely. It feels so warm and welcoming, and a little bit scary sometimes as well, because like I say, it's the first time I've experienced that level of inclusion. But yeah, it's wonderful.